The wind howled across the barren surface of Clara 7, a planet so alien it seemed alive. Dust storms swept across jagged cliffs, tearing through the settlement like invisible blades. Lieutenant Mara Voss stood on the observation deck of Outpost Sigma, gripping the railing tightly. Her eyes scanned the horizon, where jagged rocks and crimson dust merged into a swirl of red and orange. Every shadow seemed like it could hide a threat. She wasn't afraid of the storm itself. She had survived worse. No, what made her uneasy was the silence. The hum of the outpost's machinery had been steady all morning, then suddenly faltered. Small flickers of light danced across the control panels and a warning siren wailed faintly in the distance. Something was wrong. Mara adjusted her comm headset. "Control, do you copy? All systems stable?" Her voice was calm, steady, but the tension underlined each word. "Copy, Lieutenant," came the reply. "Minor fluctuations in power, but nothing critical. Sensors are reading unusual energy activity outside the perimeter." Mara's jaw tightened. "Unusual how?" There was a pause. "It's hard to describe. Energy spikes that don't match any known phenomena. We recommend caution, caution." The word was a whisper compared to what Mara felt in her gut. Caution didn't cut it. She had learned early in her career that when your gut screamed, it was often right. Turning away from the deck, she moved through the narrow corridors of the outpost. The walls hummed with energy, the fluorescent lights flickering slightly as if echoing the unrest outside. Crew members passed her in a blur, their eyes wide but determined. Everyone was trained for emergencies, yet even they couldn't hide the tension in their shoulders. Mara's thoughts drifted to the team sent to intercept the anomaly. They were supposed to arrive today. Their job? Study a strange energy field detected beyond the cliffs, a phenomenon that defied human science. No one knew if it was dangerous or intelligent. Out here in the dead heart of Clara 7, waiting could be fatal. The intercom buzzed. "Lieutenant Voss, Dr. Alara Finn is requesting an immediate briefing in your command room." Mara nodded to herself. Alara Finn, the outpost's chief scientist, had a reputation for brilliance and stubborn courage. If she wanted a briefing, it meant the anomaly was acting faster than anyone expected. The command room door hissed open. Inside, holographic displays lit the room in shades of blue and green. The screen showed the jagged terrain outside, maps and energy readings. And in the center of it all, Alara stood, her face pale but resolute. Mara's eyes met hers. "What's happening?" she asked. Alara didn't answer immediately. She took a deep breath, setting down her portable scanner. Slowly, deliberately, she began removing her outer protective gear. The motion was careful, precise. She dropped her jacket, gloves, and helmet onto the floor. Then she stepped forward and whispered almost to herself, "No more waiting." The words struck Mara like a hammer. The sense of urgency was immediate, sharp. Alara's tone left no room for doubt. The anomaly was near and the time for hesitation was over. Mara's mind raced. "Show me the readings." Alara tapped a console. The holographic display shifted, showing jagged waves of energy rippling across the cliffside. Bright pulses of light streaked the red dust, moving with a precision that was almost deliberate. The readings were unlike anything human technology had encountered. "It's moving toward the outpost," Alara explained, "and it's intelligent. It's scanning, analyzing, maybe even judging us." Mara's pulse quickened. Out here, intelligence could mean negotiation or attack. There was no guarantee humans could survive a confrontation, but she knew one thing for sure. They had to act. "Then we prepare," Mara said, her voice steady, commanding. "We can't wait for it to make the first move. Gather the team. Everyone will have a role. I want shields and energy stabilizers ready and keep the drones active." "We need eyes everywhere," Alara nodded. "Understood, but Lieutenant, this is beyond anything we've trained for. This could change everything." Mara's gaze hardened. "Exactly why we don't wait. Humans survive because we adapt. We face what others fear." The crew responded quickly. Mara watched them move with purpose, setting up equipment, adjusting sensors, and checking weapons systems. Every action, every decision was a testament to human ingenuity and resilience. Even in the face of an unknown entity, they worked as one unit, their focus unwavering. Hours passed. The storm outside raged with unrelenting fury. Energy readings climbed higher, pulses of light illuminating the red dust like a silent warning. Mara stayed in the command room, watching, calculating, planning. Every decision mattered. Every second counted. Finally, the team assigned to approach the anomaly arrived. They were clad in reinforced suits, faces set in grim determination. Mara greeted them, giving a brief, firm speech. This isn't a drill. This isn't a simulation. Out there is something new, something that might be dangerous or worse, incomprehensible. But we are human. We survive. We solve problems, we act. That is what we do. The team nodded, their fear tempered by courage. Mara could see it in their eyes, the same drive she felt. Fear existed, but it did not control them. Alara stepped forward again. Lieutenant, the energy pulses are converging on a single point. If we don't act, the outpost could be overwhelmed. Mara clenched her fists. Then we don't wait. We move at first light. We take the initiative. Outside, the storm showed no sign of slowing. But inside the outpost, a quiet determination had settled over the crew. Mara looked at Alara, at her team, at the blinking lights and rising energy spikes. Humanity had faced impossible odds before, on Earth, in space, in every corner where survival was uncertain. And now on this distant world, under alien skies and against unknown forces, humans would face it again. Mara took a deep breath, letting the adrenaline sharpen her senses. The unknown waited, unpredictable and vast. But she knew one thing with absolute certainty. Humans did not wait. Humans acted, humans endured, and when the anomaly finally revealed itself, they would be ready. The first light of Clara 7's twin suns crept over the jagged cliffs, painting the red dust in streaks of gold and crimson. Outside, the storm had softened but not disappeared. The wind still carried grit that cut at the suits of anyone brave enough to step outside. Inside Outpost Sigma, however, the calm was only on the surface. Tension had replaced fear, a quiet resolve that simmered through every corridor. Lieutenant Mara Voss stood at the central console, her eyes fixed on the holographic displays. The anomaly's energy readings were spiking again, moving unpredictably across the rocky terrain. It was as if it had a mind of its own, testing, analyzing, probing the limits of human response. A soft chime alerted her to a message on the comm channel. She tapped the console. "Lieutenant Voss," came Alara Finn's voice, urgent and clipped. "I need to speak to you in person, now." Mara exhaled slowly. Alara's tone left no room for argument. When Alara was serious, it meant something had changed. The corridors were quiet as Mara walked toward the science wing. Her boots echoed on the metal floors, a stark contrast to the howling winds outside. Crew members passed by, faces focused but wary, each carrying equipment or scanning devices. No one spoke. Words seemed unnecessary when the air itself was tense with anticipation. The command room door opened with a hiss. Inside, Alara stood near the central table, her hands resting on a datapad. Her eyes were sharp, scanning Mara as though measuring her reaction. "What is it?" Mara asked, keeping her voice steady. Alara didn't answer immediately. Instead, she reached down and removed her protective gloves, then slowly pulled off her helmet. The movement was deliberate, precise, and calm, but it carried a weight of urgency. She set the gear aside and whispered almost reverently, "No more waiting." Mara felt a shiver run down her spine. That phrase, Alara's calm declaration, conveyed something deeper than words. A warning, a call to action, a test of human resolve. "Alara," Mara said quietly, "explain. What's happening?" Alara tapped the holographic display. The map shifted, showing the anomaly as a glowing, pulsating mass of energy. It was no longer a distant curiosity. It was approaching the cliffs near the outpost, moving with intent. The pulses of light weren't random. They were directed, scanning the landscape as if looking for something specific. "It's intelligent," Alara explained. "And it's testing us. The energy fluctuations are not just natural phenomena. They're probing our systems. It's learning from every action we take, every adjustment we make. If we delay, we risk losing control of the outpost." Mara's mind raced. Intelligence meant strategy, decisions, and intent. Humanity could not survive this situation by waiting. "Then we act," Mara said firmly. "We prepare for first contact, carefully but decisively." "What do we know about its behavior?" Alara tapped the display again. "It reacts to our shields and power systems. Every time we adjust a drone or reroute energy, it changes pattern. It seems curious, cautious, but capable of overwhelming force if provoked. We need to understand it before it forces our hand." Mara nodded. Her instinct screamed that hesitation was the greatest risk. Then we move before it does. Gather the team. I want all drones active, sensors fully calibrated. We'll need real-time data and rapid decision-making. Every action must count, Ilara hesitated. Lieutenant, this isn't just a field test. It could alter how humans interact with alien intelligence forever. One wrong move and Mara cut her off, her voice unwavering. Oh. The morning haze had barely lifted when Lieutenant Mara Voss led her team toward the edge of the cliffs. The storm from the night before had left deep grooves in the rocky surface, and red dust swirled around their boots, clinging to suits and equipment. Drones hovered above them, scanning the jagged terrain and feeding real-time data back to the outpost. Mara's mind was focused, but she could feel the tension in the air. Every step, every decision mattered. The anomaly wasn't just a source of energy, it was intelligent. Its movements were deliberate, probing, and unnerving. Ilara status? Mara asked, her voice steady over the comm link. We're reading fluctuations in its energy field, Ilara replied. It's reacting to every drone, every sensor adjustment. It's learning. Be careful, Mara nodded. She didn't need a warning. Her team had trained for unpredictable situations, but nothing prepared them for this level of complexity. Every instinct screamed caution, yet hesitation could be deadly. The anomaly appeared as a faint, glowing shimmer across the cliffside, pulsing with colors that shifted like living liquid. As they moved closer, Mara noticed patterns in the pulses, rhythms that suggested observation, evaluation, and perhaps communication. One of the drones, hovering just ahead, emitted a sharp beep. Mara glanced at the display. The anomaly had responded, directing a pulse toward the drone. The light hit the machine, causing it to flicker and wobble before stabilizing. Interesting, Mara muttered. It's testing us. Not attacking, but probing. Her second-in-command, Sergeant Dax Renner, adjusted his scanner. It's fast, Lieutenant. Faster than anything I've seen. We need to keep moving carefully, Mara agreed. No rushing. Every step counts. Watch your energy shields and stay in formation. The cliffs narrowed, forcing the team into a single line. The wind gusted, throwing red dust across their visors. Every sound, every shift in the terrain was amplified. Even the distant hum of the anomaly seemed to reverberate through the rocky canyon. Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled. Small rocks tumbled down the slope. Mara's heart skipped a beat, but she kept her voice calm. Steady. Everyone steady. Drones above, keep scanning. The anomaly's energy pulses increased in intensity. Mara realized it was reacting to their movement, mirroring their adjustments almost instantly. It was learning how humans approached danger, how humans coordinated under stress. Ilara, Mara said, speaking into the comm. Can it hurt us directly? Ilara's voice was measured. I don't think it wants to harm you yet, but its energy could destabilize the cliffs. If you misstep, the terrain itself becomes the threat. Mara clenched her fists. That was enough. The challenge was clear. They had to adapt, think ahead, and move with precision. Humans thrived in moments like these, not by brute force, but by problem-solving, creativity, and teamwork. The team continued cautiously. Each step was calculated. Mara's eyes constantly shifted between the anomaly's pulsing glow and the terrain ahead. She could see Sergeant Renner adjusting his scanner to anticipate the energy fluctuations, while the rest of the team maintained formation, shields raised, drones scanning from above. Then came the first real test. A massive pulse of energy radiated outward from the anomaly. Dust and rocks lifted from the ground, creating a temporary barrier between the humans and the outpost. Mara shouted over the wind, "Spread out! Take cover! Maintain visual on each other." Her team responded immediately. They ducked behind rocky outcrops, adjusting shields to absorb the energy pulses. Drones shifted formation, mapping safe paths through the debris. Mara peered over a ridge. The anomaly's glow had intensified, and she noticed something new. It wasn't just reacting to them, it was predicting. Every adjustment they made seemed anticipated. It's studying us, Mara said. It wants to understand our strategy. We'll give it what it wants, but on our terms. She signaled Sergeant Renner. I want a pattern. Analyze its pulse intervals. Find a rhythm. Humans have a natural ability to predict patterns. We use that advantage. Renner worked quickly, his fingers flying over the console on his wrist. I see it. There's a repeating sequence every 43 seconds. If we time our movements between pulses, we can advance safely. Mara nodded. Good. Everyone follow this rhythm. Move between the pulses. Stay sharp. The team moved in coordinated steps, advancing with precision. Dust swirled around them, but their shields held steady. For a moment, it felt like a dance, humans moving in perfect sync with danger, adapting faster than the anomaly could anticipate. Alara's voice came over the comm. Lieutenant, the energy readings indicate it's trying to communicate. The pulses vary slightly with each movement. If we continue to respond predictably, we may establish a form of contact. Mara's eyes widened. This was unexpected. Intelligence didn't always mean hostility. Perhaps the anomaly was testing their resolve, their courage, their ingenuity. Humans had a long history of surviving the unknown by using these exact qualities. Then we proceed carefully, Mara said. We respect it. We observe. We act when necessary, but we don't provoke it unnecessarily. As they advanced, the anomaly shifted again. A beam of concentrated energy shot toward a rocky ledge ahead. Mara signaled for a drone to intercept. The drone darted into position, absorbing the energy and dispersing it safely. Her team exchanged impressed glances. It adapts quickly, Sergeant Renner said. Every move we make, it responds immediately. Mara smiled faintly, the first in hours. That's fine. Humans adapt faster. We learn, we improvise. Keep moving. Hours passed like minutes. The team navigated treacherous cliffs, timed movements, and constantly adapted to the anomaly's tests. Every obstacle required innovation, using drones to create temporary shields, redirecting energy pulses with portable devices, and coordinating movements with split-second precision. By midday, they reached a plateau closer to the anomaly. Its glow was mesmerizing, shifting colors and patterns that seemed almost intentional. Mara felt a strange sense of connection, an understanding that they were no longer just observers but participants in a dialogue with something entirely alien. Ilara, Mara said quietly. Can it sense our intentions? It's possible, Ilara replied. Intelligence doesn't always manifest as words. It learns from behavior. Our courage, our problem-solving, even our patience, all of this is being observed. We're proving our capability, Mara nodded. Humans had always survived by turning challenges into opportunities. In the face of uncertainty, fear, or danger, their ingenuity had turned impossible situations into victories. This anomaly was simply the latest test. Suddenly, the ground trembled again. The anomaly's energy pulses grew more intense, sending vibrations through the plateau. Mara instinctively raised her shield, signaling the team to prepare for the next surge. The pulse came, powerful, bright, and overwhelming. Dust swirled in chaotic patterns and rocks shifted beneath their feet. Mara felt the vibration through her boots but held her stance. Her team mirrored her confidence, adapting instantly, absorbing the energy through shields and careful positioning. For the first time, Mara realized something extraordinary. Humans were not just surviving this encounter, they were influencing it. Every calculated move, every display of resilience, every act of ingenuity was shaping the anomaly's response. Ilara, status? Mara asked, her voice calm but sharp. It's pausing, Ilara replied, awe creeping into her tone. It's watching, learning, evaluating your strategy. It's impressive. Mara allowed herself a small nod. This was exactly what humanity had always excelled at, facing the unknown, analyzing it, adapting faster than any other species could, and finding a way to thrive. Hours later, the anomaly's energy pulses stabilized. The storm had finally passed, leaving the plateau eerily silent, except for the soft hum of machinery and distant winds. Mara looked at her team, pride swelling in her chest. You see, she said quietly. We acted. We adapted. We endured. That is what humans do. We don't wait for the unknown to control us. We face it, and we shape it with courage and intelligence. Her team nodded silently, understanding the significance. This was more than survival. This was the essence of human strength. Ingenuity, courage, and the unwavering will to act when others might falter. The anomaly pulsed gently now, almost like a heartbeat, as if acknowledging their efforts. Mara felt a strange sense of mutual respect forming between humans and the unknown. This challenge had tested them, but humans had not only survived, they had shown that they could rise to any occasion. Mara took a deep breath and looked at the glowing entity. Tomorrow the real test would begin. But today humans had proven one undeniable truth. In the face of the unknown, They adapt, endure, and overcome, and in this moment, on the harsh cliffs of Clyra 7, humans had earned the first sign of respect from the unknown. The sky above Clyra 7 had changed since yesterday. The storm clouds had thinned into long silver streaks, and the twin suns cast a pale gold light over the cliffs. Outpost Sigma stood like a scar on the edge of the planet, its steel walls glinting faintly. Inside the command center, Lieutenant Mara Voss stood over the main display. She had barely slept. The anomaly still pulsed out on the plateau, shimmering like liquid glass. Every few minutes it sent out a slow wave of energy, no longer violent, more like a heartbeat. It was waiting. Ilara Finn stood beside Mara, scrolling through the overnight readings. "It's calmer," she said quietly. "No more violent surges, almost as if it's..." The twin suns rose over Clyra 7 with a pale gold light, spilling across the cliffs and turning the alien sky into shimmering copper. At Outpost Sigma, no one slept much the previous night. The star map projected by the anomaly still hung in everyone's minds. It was more than a pattern. It was a route, an invitation. Lieutenant Mara Voss stood in the command room with her hands behind her back, studying the holographic replay. Dots connected by glowing lines formed a path leading far beyond the Clyra system. It was not a random cluster. It was precise, mathematical, almost like instructions. Ilara Finn approached with a tablet. Her face was pale from exhaustion but bright with excitement. "It's been analyzed all night," she said. "The positions correspond to real star systems in our database. But 3 points are unknown, uncharted space." Mara nodded slowly. "It's giving us a trail into its home territory. Or it wants us to meet it somewhere else." Renner, leaning against the console, frowned. "How do we know it's not a trap?" Mara looked at him. "We don't. But history doesn't move forward without risk." Preparing the mission by mid-morning, the outpost hummed with activity. Engineers refitted the small long-range shuttle, Pathfinder, reinforcing its hull and checking its drives. Scientists loaded equipment to continue communication experiments during the flight. Security teams prepped emergency measures but kept weapons sealed unless absolutely needed. Mara gathered her senior team, Ilara, Renner, and 2 veteran pilots, in the briefing room. "We're leaving tomorrow at dawn," she said. "We'll follow the first 3 points on the map. It's a short hop compared to deep space travel, but far enough to show good faith." Renner crossed his arms. "And if we don't come back?" "Then Earth still learns something," Mara replied calmly. "We came here to explore, not to hide." Ilara looked at Mara with quiet admiration. "It's exactly what humans should do," she said softly. "We always go first. We take the step. That's why we're here." Mara met her eyes. "It's not about being reckless. It's about showing trust. If the anomaly is intelligent, it's watching how we act. We can teach it who we are." The calm. Before that night, Mara went to the plateau alone. The anomaly still pulsed like a glassy heart, its glow softer than before. She stood at the edge, helmet under her arm, and simply watched. She thought of Earth again. Oceans, cities, childhood streets, and of the long generations who dreamed of this moment. She thought of the whisper Ilara had said that first day. "No more waiting." It had echoed in her mind ever since. She spoke softly into the wind. "We're coming. We're not afraid." For a moment, the anomaly brightened, almost like it had heard her. Launch day. The next morning, the Pathfinder lifted off from the outpost with a muted roar. Its silver wings caught the sunlight as it rose. Inside, Mara sat at the forward station, Ilara at communications, Renner at systems. The 2 pilots, Harris and Quan, handled navigation. As the craft climbed through thin atmosphere into space, the anomaly pulsed one last time on the plateau below, slow, steady, watching them leave. Ilara kept her eyes on the scanner. "It's still sending a signal." "Guiding us along the route," Mara nodded. "Then we follow." Beyond the planet's edge, stars opened like a field of diamonds. The Pathfinder's engines flared and the shuttle leapt into faster-than-light transit toward the first point on the alien map. First point, the silent beacon hours later. The shuttle emerged near a small dead moon orbiting a pale blue star. Scanners lit up with faint energy. At the surface stood a structure, tall, crystalline, shimmering like the anomaly but frozen in form. Renner whistled. "That's no natural rock." Ilara's hands flew over controls. "Energy signature matches the anomaly's pulses but weaker." Mara said, "It's a beacon. Or a marker." "We're on the right path." They approached cautiously. The structure remained still, giving off a slow pulse like a lighthouse of light. Ilara sent a simple sequence of pulses back. The structure brightened, then projected a single new symbol into space, 3 lines converging, pointing to the next coordinates. Mara smiled faintly. We're being led. Second point, the edge of the unknown. The Pathfinder jumped again. This time they emerged in a region of space dense with dust and faint nebula clouds. Floating inside was another structure. But this one was damaged. Shattered spires. Fragments drifting silently. Ilara's voice softened. Something happened here. Renner scanned the debris. Radiation traces. Old battle, maybe? Mara frowned. Or a natural disaster. Either way, it's history we're seeing. They sent pulses again. After a long pause, the remaining spire flickered weakly and projected a faint map to the third point. It still works, Ilara whispered. Mara nodded. Then we keep going. Third point, the Great Curtain. The third jump brought them to the edge of an enormous phenomenon, a swirling curtain of light stretching across space, like a cosmic aurora. Beyond it lay a dark region with no visible stars. Ilara's scanner trembled with input. It's a wormhole or a stabilized passage. Energy is off the charts. Renner's face went pale. That thing could crush us. Mara stared at the curtain. It was beautiful and terrifying, shifting colors like liquid opal. She felt her heart race, but also a strange calm. This was the threshold. She looked at Ilara. Any sign of the anomaly's signal? Ilara's eyes widened. Yes, it's stronger than ever. It wants us to go through, Renner muttered. This is insane. Mara's voice was steady. We came this far to turn back? The human decision. The crew gathered in the central cabin. No one spoke at first. They all looked at Mara, waiting. She took a slow breath. We stand on the edge of something no human has seen, she said. We can turn back and tell Earth about this, or we can go through and see for ourselves. No orders can cover this moment. This is our choice, Ilara spoke first. We go. If it wanted to kill us, it had 100 chances. Harris and Quan exchanged a glance and nodded. Renner hesitated, then sighed. All right. But if we die, I'm blaming you. Mara smiled faintly. Fair enough, they strapped in. The engines hummed. The Pathfinder tilted toward the shimmering curtain. Crossing the curtain, as they entered the phenomenon, colors swirled around the shuttle like liquid rainbows. Instruments went wild but held stable. Time seemed to stretch and fold. For a moment, Mara thought she heard faint tones, like music without notes. Then suddenly, the darkness broke and they were through. Ahead lay a vast star system of 3 suns and a ring of glittering structures. Immense stations, each shaped like a flower of crystal and steel. They floated serenely, glowing with the same blue-gold light as the anomaly. Ilara's mouth fell open. This is a city, or a network, Renner whispered. We're not in our part of space anymore. The heart of the unknown, a single larger station drifted toward them slowly, its petals unfolding like a living organism. At its center pulsed an orb of light, the same kind of anomaly they had seen on Clyra 7, but far bigger, alive with patterns and colors. Ilara's scanner lit up. It's sending us a message. Complex, layered. Mara stared at it, awe flooding her. This was it, the true meeting place, the heart of whatever intelligence had reached out across the stars. She spoke softly. Open the channel. Send our greeting. Numbers first, then shapes. Show them who we are, Ilara transmitted. The orb pulsed, then projected a holographic image inside the Pathfinder. A swirl of patterns slowly resolving into a simple humanoid silhouette, not detailed, but unmistakably acknowledging their form. Renner's eyes widened. It knows what we look like. Mara felt a thrill run through her. Then it's been watching us for longer than we thought. A silent understanding. For long minutes, light and signals flowed between the Pathfinder and the great station. Images, shapes, pulses, no words but an exchange of intent. The crew watched, almost holding their breath. Ilara whispered, It's welcoming us. Mara closed her eyes briefly, feeling the weight of history. Humanity had crossed the curtain of the unknown and been greeted, not destroyed. It was a triumph of curiosity and courage. Looking ahead after the exchange, the great station sent one last image, a rotating model of their solar system with a bright line pointing back to Earth, then to itself, then to a spiral beyond. Ilara's voice shook. It's showing us the path of connection. Home to here to beyond, Renner muttered. It's planning something big, Mara said quietly. It's offering us a place in something larger, maybe a network, maybe a family. She turned to her crew. We've come farther than any humans before us. Now we need to decide what to tell it, how much to share and how much to learn. This is no longer an outpost mission. This is the beginning of something bigger than us. Outside, the great station pulsed once more, like a heartbeat. Steady, patient, waiting, Mara whispered. No more waiting. The stars in the alien system shone like silver needles across a velvet sky. The Pathfinder drifted slowly between the enormous crystalline stations. Outside its windows, soft blue-gold light moved in ripples as if the vacuum itself was alive. Inside the ship, Lieutenant Mara Voss and her crew sat silent, trying to absorb what they were seeing. Humanity had crossed the curtain of the unknown. Now it stood in the heart of another civilization. Mara's hands rested on the console. Her voice was steady but low. We're the first humans here. Every move matters. Ilara Finn nodded, eyes locked on the giant pulsating orb at the center of the largest station. It's waiting. It hasn't stopped signaling since we arrived. It's like a heartbeat but more complex. Renner rubbed his face. Hoenn began to answer some